Hello everyone, it's the Cowboy. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin and Ethereum Elliott Wave analysis here for YouTube. And yeah, welcome. It's been a couple of weeks. Let's jump right onto it. Bitcoin has made a new high since last time we talked, and things are starting to look interesting again. So let's jump right onto it. Before we do, here is where you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Elliott Cafe, and then we have a couple of free Telegram channels along with the premium right away here at the bottom. You can find the links below. And this is where you can kind of get in touch with me. All right, let's get right onto it. Bitcoin, this is a 1 week chart, and we're continuing to look higher for this larger cycle third wave. And I still think this wave is in progress. It hasn't been finished yet. 261% distance traveled in this wave one. Comes way higher here at about, almost 200,000, 180. And there's still room to travel until we get all the way up there. And I think the trends continue to point in that direction. You can see that underneath that subdivision, we have the smaller primary third wave, and I'm looking for the completion of this. I don't think this is fully done yet. In the last week episode, I was thinking that we might be completed up into these levels, but the market made a new high and just kind of threw us a little bit of a curveball in here, and I think that this might not be done. So anyway, after this wave 3 gets completed, which is probably in the final stages of doing so, then we will get another fourth wave decline that will match something that happened right back before we started this larger advance. So we need something similar to that move before we start the final advance here in this fifth wave to complete that larger third. So this is a picture of more of a weekly chart and on a longer term kind of outlook, and it could take us towards the middle, maybe even to the end of the year. Going from a 1 week here to a 2-day, you can see how I've done the subdivisions in here, right? So we have this primary wave, which is this larger wave third, and then you have your sub wave in there that's an intermediate wave. So we have a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you remember, and if you're here on the last week videos, if not, check the video from, a couple of weeks ago, you will see that we placed this third wave up into these levels. So since we've gotten a new high in here, I think even though remains a probability that could still happen, I think that it's in development. The way this can still happen, if I push this third wave up back into these levels, is that this fourth wave in here becomes a running triangle. And that happens this way. You have a 3-wave decline in here. That would be wave A of the triangle. You go up here in this wave B, you do a C, you do a D, and then you do an E. And then this way, this corrective move happens like that. Then you can secure this fourth wave up into these lows here, and then you push up higher here and into your final fifth wave. So that's kind of how we can continue to stay thinking then this is possibly still of a corrective pattern. I have a couple of other scenarios that my members have access to. I have a blue count, a green count. I talked about it last week. I've made some modifications. I've introduced a couple of nuances as well where we look at a couple of other scenarios, but this one continues to remain my main and kind of my preferred interpretation going forward. But again, Elliott Wave, it's a little bit of a window into the future, but things can shift and change, and you have to be flexible to make sure you adjust as you continue to get more data from the market. But overall, we remain in an uptrend. I think Bitcoin looks pretty solid in here. One thing that's concerning to me is the fact that we're getting a little bit of a divergence here in price, and you can see as we're making new highs, the relative strength index is making lower lows in here, right? Lower highs. So this is a little bit of a concern, and I really need the market to continue to push higher in here without much hesitation, because otherwise we run the risk of a deeper correction, maybe back here towards 30,000, right? So then we're going to have to work with a more of a completed pattern with a different structure, and we just kind of have to revisit everything. But that's kind of my only concern that I have at this moment with the advance in the price, along a little bit with the fact that the new highs that we're making, they're kind of smaller in size, right? We're kind of, every single high that we're making gets reduced in terms of volatility and in terms of price expansion. So I'm kind of having that on the back of my mind. Now, going back to the weekly charts on here in terms of trend, I look, I mean, even though the moving averages are lagging indicators and obviously they follow price, they do show you that the price is trending, and they kind of show you where a return to the mean and return to the value would be at, right? We're respecting price as a first indication into our analysis, and then every other indicator kind of comes second. Moving averages are a very important one that kind of try to keep you on the right side of the market. So we're looking at the price, we're seeing that it's making smaller advances, but in terms of average pricing, they continue to look pretty bullish and they continue to look very nice. So on the weekly chart, you have the 21-week moving averages. Right now, it's at about 35,000. Then you have the 50 at 18, and then you have the 200-week moving average, which is about 10,000. And I think this climbs at about 7 to 8%, I think, a week in terms of the way it rises. So I continue to look at this as a constant reminder. They were in an uptrend, and you wanted to trade the market on the side of the trend. Going from a 1 week to a 1 day, in here you can see that the moving averages continue to point higher. We have been, when we were talking, I think a couple of weeks ago, the price was working, just kind of working this 21 day moving average back in here, and we've since found support and continue to push higher. Again, we found support on this little dip, which tells you that on a kind of shorter term direction, and from a trading perspective, right? If you have a smaller horizon, a smaller time frame, those can be used to trade on a let's say on a 4-hour time frame, 6-hour time frame, as the market kind of pulls back towards that average, right? Those are usually places where traders will re-embark on the trend for the trend following crowd. The next one here, it's the 50-day moving average. Right now it's at about 48, and that's been supporting the price quite nice in here. And as long as we stay above it, I have to stay bullish. The moment we drop below the 50-day moving average, then things start to change a little bit. You have to be more cautious. You're looking at some corrections, and then you have your eyes at the next level, which is the 200-day, which is much, much lower at this point, 26,377. What I've put on here through this, my kind of red line, it's where would I have another 170% rise into the price before I would maybe found another pullback into Bitcoin, because just kind of from testing from previous moves above the 200-day moving average, you can see that we pulled back from 190, we pulled back from 170, and this kind of goes on even before on the previous bull markets in Bitcoin. So if this wants to continue to push higher, some of the targets would be up here at about 75,000, 190% would be at about 85,000, I think. So by the time you get all the way to those levels, if you can continue to push, you can expect those levels to offer a little bit of a resistance, and then and the market, the market kind of ebbs and flows to some extensions above the averages, and then kind of turns around and then finds strength, gets more buyers, and then pushes back up again. So this is just a little bit of a look into the moving average scenario. All right, back onto the candlestick patterns, and these continue to look really good. A couple of weeks ago, I've talked about this bearish engulfing candle that I had on here, right? And I was trying to, look at it through the eyes of something that happened previously back in the end of 2017, before the larger bear market started. And you could see in the circle up here that you had a big bearish engulfing, and the market corrected much lower. Now, I've also mentioned that when these patterns that you see on here, they don't get confirmed on the downside, then usually you have bullish moves that start on the opposite direction. So you saw that, following such a bearish engulfing pattern, we were supposed to get more of a sell-off and of a return into the market, but the market found strength and actually reversed and moved higher above those levels. Now, what this tells me that, this market is rejecting lower prices, and in this weekly time frame, it has enough strength to continue to go higher. And if anything, this rejection means a whole lot, and we could actually explode all the way, something like that, and continue to push towards 100,000. In terms of time travel, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago as well. We're using the time fib analysis, and I have a video on YouTube about it. You guys can check it out. If you go into my main channel, you will see, or maybe I'll even put a link here below, but you'll see the one that I'm talking about, where you actually go in TradingView and you can use this is Motive Wave software that does this for me. And actually, just as a little parenthesis, the Motive Wave has a nice March sale. I think they're 25% off starting on Monday. So there is a link, there's an affiliate link for me below this video. So if you want to support, this channel, just go hit on that link. They take you straight to their website, and starting Monday, you'll get a 25% off. So use that, because Motive Wave is a pretty cool software. You can give it a trial, and I mean, it speeds up your learning curve, and it's so much faster in terms of the way it projects the waves, the way you use the fib analysis, the way the wave gets counted. It's got some automatic counted as well. So it's got all kind of really built-in features that save you a lot of time when you analyze the charts. Plus, you can save multiple counts, and it's much easier than TradingView and some of these other softwares that don't have that. This is mostly specialized, for Elliott Wave analysis. It's got a lot of other features as well, but in terms of Motive Wave, it's super cool. So anyway, in terms of distance traveled here, as much as this Wave 1 traveled, you could see that this is kind of what I measured at, right? And we've had 161.8 distance traveled happening January 29th, and then I would get a 200% around April 18th. So let's see if this market doubles its time traveled in this Wave 1, in this Wave 3, and what happens once you get to April 18th zone. Then back here, I have also the distance traveled between Wave 1 and Wave 2, and I project that from here into the future in terms of time, and I get 100%. I think it's June or July. It doesn't come here in the count, but it's I think it's 13th of June or something like that, where we would travel 100% the distance travel that we've done into the second wave. So these are important fib levels as you look into the futures, because they can combine with some of your other analysis, can kind of pinpoint where the market is going, where there are chances that it's going to turn from, and along with some other data that you can look at, candlestick analysis, some moving averages, some RSI, some other things that you incorporate besides Elliott Wave, right? You can kind of build a case for something to happen, or where you expect things to kind of turn. All right, so that's on Bitcoin. Let's take a look quickly also at this is the seasonality chart of Bitcoin, and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think we were being kind of sluggish back then. I think we weren't even performing really well. But since then, we've made new highs, right? So you could see that the regular average for the month of March, which is this blue in here, it's kind of down. So the month of March is a pretty bad month for cryptos overall, and most of them kind of fit this trajectory. Now, so far, this 2021 year, right? It's one of the best so far in the month of March. I mean, you can see none of the previous years going back to 2014 has performed as well as this year has done in the month of March. And, this continues to look, pretty good. We'll see, if anything surprising happened and we revert in here and we push back, and, this orange line kind of gets lost into some of these other ones. Hopefully not, but you never know. So this is just something, just a visual, another little tool that we're using in there, into the analysis to kind of position ourselves and make sure that we have the proper expectations when we look at Bitcoin and any other markets for that reason, right? You don't want to have unrealistic expectations, always be excited or necessarily super bullish, right? You kind of have to tone it down and look at the market and say, let's see what happens seasonally over here, what the trends are, and let's see if this kind of gets expanded in any way. So that's a look at seasonality charts. So far this continues to look good. Let's take a look now. Let's switch to Ethereum. So Ethereum, it's continues to remain bullish. It's been it's been really kind of slow since a couple of weeks ago. I think we haven't done a whole lot of a move. But overall, in terms of a weekly time frame, we've broken above that important 1422, and we're continuing to look higher here towards that 3700. If you look at this, third wave intermediate in here, this looks like, that's where it kind of wants to go, right? That's 161 multiple of this wave 1. So you have your primary third wave that's still in progress, wave 3 cycle that's still in progress. So both those degrees of trend, they continue to point higher. But then you look at this intermediate wave and say, hey, what's going on in here? How much longer I can go? And that's 37. And then, 261 for the larger third, it's actually at about 49, right, for this bigger primary wave third. So I think we continue to look good. I remain bullish on Ethereum. I have no reason not to, right? I would have to see more of a pullback in here below these levels, right? I would have to kind of see a turn. And even then, this could be a very simple, just ABC corrective move. We would match this wave and then push higher. Under that scenario, I would have to take this third and say, well, the market did not want to climb all the way up there to 1618. It kind of found sellers up into these levels. And I would just have to kind of shift it. But overall, you still remain in a nice uptrend in here. You're making, higher highs, higher lows. Things look good. Jumping over to a 2-day chart, you can see the subdivisions inside this intermediate third wave, and you start from here, and you're starting to build a case that, hey, you're in a bigger impulse in here, and that starts in this kind of minor sequence, and you go in a wave 1, a wave 2 in here. Then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You complete this larger minor third, and now you're working this fourth wave minor, and I think this is still in progress. And it could be done already, but again, this could be very possible, just like in Bitcoin. Then we're either doing a running triangle or maybe, just a regular, simple converging triangle in here, and this kind of shapes like that. And you're going to go in a fourth in here, in an A of 4, A, B, right? You go A, B, C, D, and E. And even if you make a new high in here, that's still a very likely possibility. Now, the bigger this gets, the more I'm going to be in the camp that it's going to be worried that it's a fourth of this minor degree because of the way the second wave looks in here, right? So I would have to, if this gets too large, that's the only corrective pattern that I can match it with in this sequence for me to kind of have that right look that I'm always looking for. In terms, when I count the waves, I always look at that right look and make sure that I have some kind of a match in terms of the corrective patterns and in terms of the impulsive patterns as well. I think that gives me a little bit better outlook into the overall trend of the market. But the biggest correction that we've had is this one back here, right? So the moment this one gets too large, that means that this third wave might be in here. And the sequence is not correctly counted, and I have to readjust it and consider that a third wave intermediate, right? Which I have no problem with, just like I mentioned before. So that would be your 1, that would be your 2, 3, 4, and then you're going up in 5. However, under both scenarios, you can see how Elliott Wave tells us, this methodology tells us you still got to push up higher. Once again, even if you're going to correct a little bit lower, you're going to get a move back to kind of work that larger, third wave primary that started back in March of last year, right? So that's where we are in Ethereum. And here is also another quick look at the moving averages. This was another impulse of about 190% above the 200-day moving average. We dipped below the 50 and then we pulled back up higher. Was just a little bit of a blip in here. The averages continue to contain the price below, and it looks like it wants to break to the upside. This 200 days right now, it's at about $870, and we're at about 1900 right now. So I continue to kind of watch this. Obviously, because we're moving mostly sideways. Remember, we don't have to correct in price. We can just correct in time, right? And this thing, the fact that you're getting a drop on the RSI, you're dropping a little bit of a momentum, but because the fact that you're going sideways, and here we haven't actually made new highs, right? So if you look at where, well, actually, this kind of started back in here, and the new high was up in here. So you did have a divergence, that kind of corrected sideways and not necessarily to a bigger drop lower, right? Even though the next move in the RSI continued to drop, the price did not. The price just moved sideways. Actually, this could be a pretty bullish sign, not necessarily bearish. So something to watch. But overall, nice uptrend. All right, now really quickly, I'm going to jump onto some of these rotations that I look into the markets to see which one is stronger, which one is weaker. And you can always do Ethereum versus Bitcoin analysis in terms of the charts. And I actually have one. I'm going to bring it in the next video. In a couple of weeks from now, I'm going to do the Ethereum Bitcoin pair on its own, because it's got a very interesting structure of the lows. If you look at it, I think, and I've showed this to the members into the room, I think we have a leading diagonal of those lows, followed by a second wave pullback into Ethereum Bitcoin, and then we have another wave 1 and another pullback. So this could tell me that there's a probability there that actually Ethereum Bitcoin is going to rock much, much higher, and that's going to make Ethereum outperform. it's something that we're watching. Again, I'm going to take a look at it in a couple of weeks. But if you want to know about a little bit more about it, come and visit us, and I'll be happy to share that with you. So anyway, what you have on here, it's the weekly rotation against the dollar, right? So the benchmark, there's two charts here. The benchmark in both of them is the dollar index, which is up into these levels. And then this is a weekly chart, which I forgot to make a note out of. But both on the weekly charts, Ethereum and Bitcoin has been losing ground for the past 4 or 5 weeks in here, right? We're still leading, we're still outperforming the dollar index. But basically, we've been losing strength because the dollar has been strengthening. If you've noticed, right, for the past, I think 4 or 5 weeks in there, you've gone a little bit higher towards. I think it's about 91 or 92, the dollar index right now. And some of these things have been kind of correcting, moving sideways, losing a little bit of power, which you can see in here. And that trend seems that it wants to continue. But on the daily, where we're doing the smaller rotations, right, we have been lagging, and you have been a little bit improving in Ethereum and Bitcoin, and now you're back into this leading quadrant. So we're starting to outperform the dollar index on the daily basis, and as long as the arrows point higher in here, this looks good, right? It's a little bit conflicting, almost like this is a larger time frame, this is a smaller time frame on the daily, but you kind of have to look and use them in communication with each other to think that it's a smaller rotation. It's almost like some mini trends inside of something larger, right? So overall, we seem to be weakening against the dollar, but on the daily time frame, we're picking up a little bit of a strength in here. So I'm really curious to see if actually this is going to continue to push. Then these arrows will probably turn and move back up higher, right? And here is what you can see now: just Ethereum against Bitcoin, and I think that this is a weekly rotation, and the next one here, it's a daily. I hope I'm right. I didn't mark it, but it looks that way. So this should be a weekly move on here. So where Ethereum continues to outperform, now Bitcoin is the benchmark. Bitcoin is up here, and these all are the improving, the leading, the weakening, the lagging, and the improving quadrant. And you can see in here for the past, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's say 8 weeks. Actually, for the past 6 weeks, it's been outperforming, because for the the 2 weeks prior to that, we've been improving and actually lagging back in here. But then we've gotten to improve. So it continues. Ethereum still continues to be an outperformer based on this weekly time frames, but it's losing momentum, right? And then if you go on the daily charts on here, you can actually see that here it's actually lagging. Right, it's been in the improving quadrant for a while, losing a bunch of momentum in here, and Bitcoin actually on the daily basis right now, it's outperforming Ethereum. So these are some of the things that we're kind of using in combination with the trends and in combination with the counts to kind of see where things go and where they stand. All right, so this is another relationship that I think it's very important. Guys, Elliott Wave Cafe, it's open 24/7. I'm there since, first thing in the morning to late at night with commentary updates, video updates every single day. We follow, from Bitcoin to a lot of the alts. I don't cover all of the alts in the universe, obviously, but, the major ones, and upon request, I look at charts and trends and things like that. We cover all other markets from the S&P 500, equities, stocks, gold, oil. I provide a constant flow of information, where we are in the macro field, where we are in the Bitcoin markets, where we are in the alts, and kind of how things interrelate to my updates. We take live trades in all these aspects. You can find me at this link. It's below as well, Elliott Cafe _ here bot. And then now there is a 7-day free trial. There's no card required. You can come and give us a test. There's no gimmicks. There's nothing. You can just come into the room, spend 7 days, see if you like it, hang around, learn some more. If not, you go on your way. And here is, a little bit of what we provide on there. This is just a, very kind of brief. I think there's a lot more behind the scenes that happens in there. And then, if you take a 3-month subscription, you can actually, get this course that I have for free. There is a lot of details in there. If you know nothing about Elliott Wave principle, you can dive in and just really, really learn everything. So, when we talk, we can be on the same page. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I really appreciate it. Don't forget to sign up for YouTube in here, subscribe and hit the thumbs up button, share the video, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. And if not, next week for Macro Cafe, where we talk, a lot of other markets, oil and gold and dollar index and yields and the S&P 500 and other really cool stuff. So thanks again for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.